Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first HubSpot user group in 2023. We're really happy that we got it assigned again here at Helion B2B. And today we're going to talk about how to utilize HubSpot sales tools like a HubSpot Sales Executive. And for that purpose, we invited our very good friend at HubSpot, Josef, who is also here. I have been working close with Josef for the last 1.5 years, so it's really excited to have him join us today and take us through how he uses HubSpot to sell HubSpot. So that's going to be quite exciting. But since we are a lot of new people in this group today, I just want to shortly present what Nordics SaaS HubSpot user group really is. So as a member of this group, you will learn from proven cases of inbound-driven success. You will get to share the HubSpot practices that support your growth journey, and you will also meet fellow inbounders who share industry-specific challenges and aspirations. So as part of our collaboration here in Helion B2B with HubSpot, we have this group where we 4 times a year do presentations, user groups. We invite some of our customers in to talk about how they succeeded on HubSpot. We walk through different features in HubSpot and how to utilize them. So the last HubSpot user group we did was about building a lead score model and implementing it on HubSpot. And today we're going to learn from HubSpot themselves. So that's quite exciting. Feel free to put in the chat where you're from, what your role is, what you hope to get out of today's user group. There is also a Q&A where you can type in all your questions and we will take them at the end. And there will be lots of time to get your questions answered by Josef and myself if you have any. I'm Lotte, and I am the HubSpot user group leader. I'm a co-founder and SaaS lead here at Helion B2B. I have 8 years of experience working with HubSpot and inbound strategy, specifically for B2B SaaS companies. And I have been running this HubSpot user group in 2022, and I'm going to run it in 2023 as well. And the agenda today is first, we're going to walk through the presentation, which is how to utilize HubSpot sales tools like a HubSpot Sales Executive. Josef will be the one running this. He will tell us about his favorite features in HubSpot. He will also jump into HubSpot to actually showcase how he works in HubSpot every day. So that's going to be exciting. Hopefully you will get some very good takeaways from a pro himself. And then we will have the Q&A at the end. So please just type in all your questions during the session. And now I will hand it over to you, Josef.
Morning, everybody. Glad to be here. Thanks, Lotte, for having me. If I can just share my screen here. There we go. Okay. So a day in the life of an HubSpot executive. Interesting topic, but I'm happy to walk you through this. But first, before we jump into it, quick introduction. So my name is Josef Rissanen. I'm a team lead and senior AE here at HubSpot. Been at HubSpot for 2 years. I live now in Dublin, but I am very much a proud Finnish person. And I also put one of the most proudest things in Finland we have, which was the Nokia 3310, which was also my first phone. What does a day at HubSpot as an AE really look like? So it consists of merely 5 to 6 different things. We have sourcing, we do prospecting, we run our discovery calls, we do demos, and then of course my favorite part as an AE is the closing calls. And then on top of that, I also have some team lead duties. But a day usually consists of around 3 to 4 different points in this sector.
Can you just maybe before going further, just tell a bit about what is, I know we're going to deep dive into the prospecting part, but maybe also just tell a bit about how you run the discovery calls versus the demo calls, because I know that we're not going to touch upon that in the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. So how the discovery calls and the demo calls have two different, let's say, goals. So the discovery calls goal is to see, can HubSpot actually be at helpful for the company? Is there a way we can help them grow, reach their goals? So that's the main point of the discovery calls. What we focus on there is where you are now, where you want to go, and what's stopping you from getting there. What are the things that are blockers you from growing from, for example, 1 million to 2 million euro in revenue this year and 2 to 4 million next year?
Yeah. So trying to determine if they could be a possible fit for your product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if we find that it is good, and then we have a demo, and then we tailor the demo based on, okay, these are the functionalities you would need to solve this problem for you to help to get to your goal.
Great. Then I will let you jump into the sourcing part.
Right. Thank you. So prospecting is a big part of our day. That's where what we would try to achieve with prospecting is to find good fit accounts to put in our name. So how that actually then works, I'll jump here into HubSpot. So in HubSpot, we have our two main objects. So we have our companies and contacts. So companies is where we prospect and try to find new good fit companies to put in our name. I have several different my own views. Since I work in Nordics, I have a view of, for example, all of the Finnish companies, all of the Swedish companies. So I have ready-made already them here in place. So it's easy for me to come here and then start looking it from there. Things I also look at from a perspective, or how I use it, is I'll make these columns my own, so we can edit them, like recent conversions, have they been active, when's the last time they created, different number of employees. And then if I want to even deep dive and go even deeper, I can just use some filters. For example, like annual revenue is greater than 1 million or something like that, to really determine how I can find some good companies then to put in my name and start working on.
For you, what are some of the most valuable properties to look at if you need to figure out which companies to work first when you do the posting?
Great question. So I look at a lot of in terms of intent. So is this somebody who has now some company who came to our website specifically to talk to us, or was it to download some resource, or some sort of intent that shows that they might have a problem that we can help them solve?
Okay, so you primarily look at the recent conversion, or when was the last activity day? Do you also look like at number of page views, or what is like the most significant things to look at if you need to start prospecting in the CRM?
Yeah, so page views is one really good one. The other one is how many users. So if, for example, are they already having a free account, and are they actively using the free account, and how many users is there in the free account? So if there are 15 users, 20 users using the free account, it shows that they're already using the CRM to some level. That might be something that we can help them to utilize it even more.
Yeah. So how is it different to work the leads that are on HubSpot free versus the leads that come in maybe downloading some of your premium content? Can you tell a bit about how you prospect each kind of lead?
So in terms of those who come in, they usually have somebody in the company that has been assigned to them to, hey, we need a CRM, or we need something, can you go and find it? And then they go out and then they find it. So those people usually already know that they have some sort of problem that they need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to find an answer to that problem. So those are more, let's say, the active ones, or the ones who are actually, the intent is more there. The ones who are already using the free version, they tend to, in a sense, they know where they are at the moment, so they might start, they know that, okay, we need this system, we're using this is great for us for today, but we also have, high expectations to grow next year, and for us to, the free ones usually have found something that suits them for now. And for them, it's more like, okay, will this also suit to you in the future? Possibly no.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. And I also know that you're going to showcase a bit about how you do it with companies versus contacts, because you have these two different views.
Absolutely. And so we can jump into that almost right away. And that kind of ties into how I use my other tools more, is the tasks. So they tie in together a lot. So tasks is something I use in the end of my day. I usually finish my day with tasks, and I start my day with tasks, which is quite interesting. But you can use tasks in different ways. You can use it to remind you to call. You can use them for emails. You can also use them for just simple tasks like onboard or do something else. But how tasks are used, they go again then with the contacts. So for tasks, when I finish my day, I again come here to the contact section, and I look at here again. Recent conversions is usually a lot what I look at. I have my new leads, for example. It can be the new ones that are coming in. But what I do is, let's say, for example, we have here 4 people that are very interesting. So I just click here, the ones I want to reach out for tomorrow, and then I just create a task from here in bulk.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So this is how you plan, like when you finish your day, you go back to this view and you create tasks for tomorrow, so you know where to start your day.
Exactly. Yeah. So it can be calls, email, it can be, Navigator, it can be email, LinkedIn outreach. I'll give it a due date. I'll create that part. And then where they land is when you come here, click sales and tasks, you'll have a list of the tasks from here. So then when I start my day, this is the first place where I come to. And then I look at my task lists and which are the most prioritized ones? What's important for me? So I can choose, for example, then here, maybe I'll start them all. Or if I have a high priority like Elon Musk and Lotte, you're super high priority as well, I can just click here, start the tasks, and it takes me directly to that contact record where I can then, make the call and start my day.
Okay. So can you dive a bit into how this works? So with the rescheduling, the skipping, the completing, so how do you manage to keep an overview with tasks? I'm asking because I've been working with a lot of different clients on HubSpot. Some of them are really good at using tasks, some of them are not. But what I usually see is that just a lot of tasks ends up and people don't really complete them. And then it's hard to build automation also based on that if you are trying to see if a task has been completed as well. So can you maybe talk a bit about how you do that internally?
Yeah, I'll showcase you right now. So how do we... It's a good question, actually. That's something also I know sometimes we internally, it happens. Sometimes you miss a task. You can reschedule it or not. You just have to be a little bit disciplined there, I think, as well, as a sales rep, to actually go through those tasks. So it's kind of like, here's my training program, but you actually have to do the push-ups yourself as well. But how I look at it, when I come to the tasks, it takes me here. And then from here, the contact record, I can then see, okay, who is this? Is it a qualified lead? Okay, chief tweet officer. I can look at subscriptions, the website activity. And then from here, let's say I need to call him, then I'll just click here and I call directly from here. And then when that's completed, I just finish it, and then it takes me to the next one. So when I've done my task, click it, complete it, and it takes me automatically to the next one. So now I'm here at Lotta's place.
Yeah. Okay. So you are very disciplined on taking it like task for task to make sure that you get them all completed.
Absolutely. And I have a call block in the morning. So when I come to work, I start my day, I come there to the task queue. I have blocked the time in the mornings where I then do my tasks, where I go through them.
Okay.
I've dedicated time slot for that.
Makes sense. I guess that's the easiest way, instead of having it written down on paper, written it down in your diary or your calendar, but working directly out of the system.
Absolutely. And then like you mentioned there, if something happens, maybe I need to reschedule it. Maybe there's something on, I can just click here as well, reschedule, and I reschedule that specific task for tomorrow.
Nice. That is really great. Also because then nothing ever falls through the cracks, right?
Absolutely. The one thing I forgot, it also puts you also a reminder for you here, so you'll get a notification here as well, so you can see all your tasks here, and they will plop up here to remind you.
And this is like, what would you say, like the gem for all sales executives in HubSpot is tasks. Is it what you also get measured on?
Yeah, well, we measured on activity. So, but for us to manage our time properly and manage our activities properly, tasks is the tool that helps us get there the most.
Cool. Let's go for the next one.
Okay, good. Next up, we have sequences. Now, sequences are something I use pretty much every day. You can use sequences. I use them in two different, in a sense, two different approaches. So one way is to do it in bulk. So let's say we have a campaign that we'd like to offer to our customers or new customers or something specific, and I can do that in bulk. Or I can also use that specifically for one specific person and run a sequence in that sense. I'll show you how I'll do it. So to get here, I go back to my contacts. So we'll start with the bulk one. I'll go back to my contacts and I look at here, okay, we have an offer and I want to send this offer out to 5 people as a sequence. So what I can do then is I can choose the one I do, and I can directly from here enroll them in bulk and then just choose which sequence I want to send them out to.
And what would so I know sequences can be used for a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So can you maybe jump a bit into how you use the sequences and for which purposes? Because I know you and I have discussed that sequences is really not just emails.
Absolutely, and I'll show you there right in a second what different ways. But sequences can be used, yes, in emails, but you can also have in sequences tasks to remind you to call, and also do that in a sense two-way communication. So you can communicate out to the customer, but you can also communicate inwards to yourself to send you reminders and remind you to do, for example, tasks, and they will come in the task queue. Well, I'll show you here, for example, an example how it would look like. Here's an example of a sequence. So we have an email sent. It waits a couple of days, and then a couple of days later, it sends you an automatic task to remind you to call this person.
Okay, so this is when it's a post-call meeting. So if you have had like a phone call or you've been on a meeting with a prospect, you will enroll them in the sequence.
Yeah. So let's say, Lotte, we had a call, we had a meeting, and okay, I'm going to follow up with you. Then I can directly from here, I usually go directly from here, or then I just go from my Gmail. I click here, create email, I'll add the sequence, and I'll put you here into the sequence directly from here. So that's how you can do it. Let's say the other one was in bulk, but this is more specifically like targeted between me and you.
Yeah. And what is the most important things with sequences? Because if you do it like one-on-one, I guess you will need to build it much more personal. In I think you should also do it personal if you bulk enroll, but that could be based on a content piece. So how do you work with sequences internally? Like, what is the best practices for sequences internally at HubSpot?
Well, like you mentioned, it's two ways. You can do them in bulk, but then you also have to understand what the purpose of that, if that's a campaign and so on. If you do it one-to-one, make sure that you're sending it to the right person and you have the right names and everything is correct. So it actually is personalized as well. The thing, I think people tend to overuse them a bit too much. Best practice is not to have an email going out every day. It's more about, I would say the best practice is more about what not to do than to how to do it. So what not to do, for example, if you have an email going every day for 2 weeks, it's just going to oversaturate it and everybody is going to get annoyed. And don't always use it just for outside communication. Use it also to remind yourself. So have the machine working for you in terms of doing some outreach for you, and also reminding yourself that on how to use your tasks and make sure you get those, that you don't miss anything or let anything fall in the cracks.
Yeah. What is your favorite sequence to use? What has been working best for you? And I know that you're really good at selling HubSpot, so I need to know. You need to tell me.
Yeah, probably the one I use the most is my follow-up or introductory sequence.
Okay, so how does that work with an introductory sequence? Is it if you get assigned a new lead?
Yeah, exactly. So let's say I get assigned a new lead. You come in, you fill in a form, I call you, you didn't respond, I can put you in an introductory sequence that then says, "Hi Lotte, I know you signed up here. Are you interested to discuss?" And then I have my own meeting link calendar in the email as well. So you can then directly book a meeting from me in my calendar there if it's interested. And then a couple of days later, it will send me a task. We'll start my day in the task queue. I will see, okay, you can follow up here. Try to call Lotte again.
Okay, nice. Well, because it ties into the tasks, right? So
yeah,
your sequences is also creating tasks for you in your daily work. So everything ties together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the important part is also just keep it simple. Don't try to overcomplicate it. Yeah, keep it simple.
Test and learn, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just wondering, you were showing the sequence before with the 8 steps. Can you just run through the 8 steps just fairly quickly, just for everyone to get an example of how to do a post-call or post-meeting follow-up sequence?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is an 8-step sequence. It takes 2 weeks. We can see here. So it starts with an automated email. So if I would enroll there, for example, Lotte, you can see it will say, "Hi Lotte, thanks for sharing a little bit about me. If you want to discuss again, here's my meeting link." And we can personalize it with different tabs here. But then a couple of days later, it sends a new email. A couple of days later, it then creates an automatic task for me internally, so I can then try to call Lotte again. Then a few days, and we can change these delays. They can be 1 day, they can be 2 days, they can be 4 days, whatever they do. Sends another email, another call task. And the important part is here to remember. So let's say if Lotte, for example, answers to this email or books a meeting with my meeting link, it stops automatically. So you don't have to manually go and stop it if there's an action from whoever you sent the sequence to.
Yeah. So you won't keep spamming anyone if they answer the email, or if there is a breakthrough in the chain of communication, then the sequence will automatically unenroll someone.
Exactly.
If you scroll a bit up, I can see you also have the possibility to put in rules for unsubscribing. So one thing is that the sequence stop shooting tasks and emails if there is a breakthrough in the communication. but you can also add rules for unenrollment.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can do that. If somebody unenrolls, it stops right away. So it's a good point there, Lotta.
Cool. I know that we have 2 more important things to walk through before the Q&A, so let's jump a bit further.
Okay, good. So pipeline is next. Pipeline is probably one of the things that we are the most that we get the most wouldn't say shit for, but like we in HubSpot, so the pipeline needs to be clean. So we call it pipeline hygiene. It needs to be spotless. So everything needs to be in the right place. And that's something that we constantly get communicate. Update your pipeline, make sure everything is in the right place that needs to be in the right place. Now, how do we do that in HubSpot? So we go here in the deals. Now, for me, for example, what we use a lot is required fields. So for me to move, for example, this deal from appointment schedule to business considerations, I am forced to actually answer a few questions. So for example, what is their needs? Okay, they need CRM, they need marketing, they need sales. And once I've answered this question, then I can actually move it here. Now, what this does is then it makes sure that every deal is in the right stage as it's supposed to be. Same thing if I send it over to contract sent, is the timeline agreed? Are they ready to proceed? Have you got a verbal agreement? Okay, good. And it's not finished there yet. If I then want to close this deal, I have to put in things like, okay, the onboarding is scheduled. We're going to schedule onboarding from 1st of May, and then note to services as well. So then here I'll write some stuff for the service or the onboarding team that is then going to look at it and take care of that after the sale. So for example, start with sales. That's done. Good. And then what does that do? When you go in here to the deal, you can then see here in the properties that the notes that I put in here is actually there. So when an onboarding specialist comes here into the deal, gets a notification, a new deal as one, they go here and they see, okay, we're going to start with the sales. That's a priority. And this way we work together with the onboarding and we help each other out.
So one thing is the required fields, which is really important to make sure that the right deal is in the right deal stage. But how do you utilize automation also? So if you don't have a schedule, next activity, do you then get a notification, or how do you usually work with that?
Yeah, so that's also something. Next step is we get a lot of like HubSpot. In HubSpot, we're very strict about the pipeline and next steps, and everything needs to be in place. So we use automation there as well. So you can do it. Do you want me to show it actually how it's done? Behind when you go here to edit stages, you can hear behind the pipeline itself, you can add some automation. So you can, for example, create a task directly, or if there's been a delay for 14 days, nothing has happened, no next steps, it will automatically create a task for you to follow up with this deal.
Okay.
Make sure everything is in place. So you can have that machine yet again, the system is helping you to do your job better.
Yeah, so also the deal pipeline is assigning tasks.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, before jumping into the Q&A, let's touch upon the last feature that you use in your daily work.
Absolutely. So documents is something that we, when we send documents or we send emails, we tend to track them. So one way is you can just download the Chrome extension and you can open up here in your right-hand corner the icon, and it will then show you all of the people who have seen the email, who's opened up the link, who's clicked it, and so on. And you can follow that sense, I use it to really see and follow if, okay, is this interesting? Are they coming back? Is there a clear need? Is it getting shared internally within the company? Then the other way you can do it is you go here to documents, and then you open up the specific document, and then you can see here as well, okay, how many views it's gotten, who are the people who viewed it view the document, and then you can also add the details, so you can see here, okay, when have they actually viewed it? So has the material that I sent, has it been interesting or not?
Actually, I think this feature is one of the most underrated features. I know a lot of people that are not utilizing it, but for me personally, having been on have a sales meeting, sending them slides afterwards, especially if there is pricing on those slides. If you put them in a tracked document, you will actually be able to see how many seconds or minutes they spend on each side, which is quite valuable. Just one, to know if they open up the document. Two, to know if how much time they spend on each side. And three, also to know if they share it with the colleagues.
Yeah.
Because I would say for me, that is really an buying intent indicator.
That's 100% right, and that's exactly why we use it as well in HubSpot. And I agree with you; it's very underrated, but it gives you such an insight into what's going on with the situation or with the deal you're working on. So it would be, in a sense, foolish not to utilize it.
Yeah, and also because it's in real time, so you will get an email prompt, with how all the details of the document tracking, and then it's just about phone and call them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Joseph, do you have anything else to add before jumping into the questions?
Not from my end. Not from my end. I hope you enjoyed it. If it was valuable for you.
So there is a question here in the Q&A, and this is very startup specific, but for a startup, do you recommend to add scores to the lead's actions, behavior, to improve the sequences and segmentation, which one could follow up later by a call?
Absolutely. So with this, what the scores do is they give you an indication and they help you personalize your outreach. So if you know the score, and if the more you know about them, the more personalized your outreach can be, and the more personalized, the higher rate of success you will have.
So when talking about scoring, which properties or which data points do you score on internally at HubSpot?
So that's a great question. We use a lot of, page views is what we use a lot, different page views, and different page views have different scores. So pricing page has a different score than basic knowledge base page. So that's one thing. Then also, are they downloading our material? Are they using our ROI calculators? Are they attending our webinars or events or things like that? So a lot of those parts. Also, are they using the free version, for example, is one. Or adding more contacts into HubSpot? Are they adding new users into HubSpot? All of these things.
Yeah, exciting. So also when talking about startups, how early would you recommend to actually start using scoring? Because I think that from my point of view, at least, you will need to have some high intent pages on the website. So maybe pricing page, or like you said, an ROI calculator, or anything that shows a bit more buying intent, than blog posts. It could also be feature pages, service pages, is one thing. But another thing is also that you need to have some content, right?
Absolutely. I agree. I think the earlier the better. Like the point of scoring is to give you some sort of indication and to give you information on the prospect's behavior and see, is what I'm offering, is it interesting? And could it help people? And for a startup, typically what a lot of startups do is they create a product, but they never speak to actual customers. They might talk on LinkedIn, but they don't actually speak to actual customers or potential buyers. So the earlier you get the information, the better you can then utilize it, personalize your outreach, even personalize your product, or develop your product better.
Yeah. And what is quite interesting there, you said, well, like developing the product. So we were talking about the pipeline before, and you showed the criteria. So when you lose a deal due to some kind of functionality or feature, maybe you are up against Salesforce, do you then log it and then do that feedback go back to product, or how does that work?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, that never happens. No, I'm joking. Yeah, if that happens and it's a feature-based lost, then it will go directly to our product team, and then they will send me a survey to help for feedback on what actually happened and why did we lose. And also on the closed lost, we have required fields, which is like, okay, did we lose? To who did we lose? And why did we lose? And then that information gets sent to the product team, and then usually they automatically then send a feedback survey and ask me for more information.
Yeah, but I think that's quite interesting, because I guess that one thing is, as a salesperson in HubSpot, that you need to sell, sell more deals, do the prospecting and stuff. But you also tend to feed a lot of information in, the organization. You feed information to the onboarding team. You feed information to product when a deal is lost. How do you feed information back to marketing? If the leads are bad fits or whatever, how does that work?
Mm-hmm. So what you can do is, let's say a lead comes in and it's a bad fit. Mm-hmm. So I can work. So I have two options. I can work the lead, or I can disqualify the lead. If I choose to disqualify the lead, I would have to give a reason for it. So it can be insufficient data, or company is a bad fit, or whatever it might be. And then that information feeds then to marketing.
Okay. Makes sense.
They take then that data and do something with it.
Okay. So there is another question. What are the top 3 approaches for a startup to create the pipeline, define the questions to answer? I guess this is the required fields, and also to keep it up to date and clean. So what are the 3 best approaches?
Sorry, tell me again. What was the question?
3 best approaches for a startup to create the pipeline, define the required fields, and also to keep it up to date and clean.
Well, that's a good question. To keep it up to date and clean, required fields itself helps with that. So if you don't have them, they tend to move them and take them back and forth, however you in a sense feel like. It depends a little bit on your startup. If it's a B2B SaaS, or if it's a energy startup, how do you build your pipeline? It's a really good question. What do you need to get out? What information do you need to get out of it until you are ready to take it to the close one? So think about, because selling is not just about, okay, here's my product to you, but also what information do I need so I can help you? Yeah.
I think that I can chime in a bit here as well, since I've also built a lot of pipelines throughout the years. So a lot of the things that we talk to our clients about is every stage in the pipeline needs to have an action. So you can't have a deal stage in the pipeline where the deals can end up dead or go cold. So every step of the pipeline need to have an action. I would also recommend keep it short, then build from there. No need to have 10 or 12 different deal stages. It's just overcomplicate things. And then start with a minimum of requirements. It could be, product they're interested in. It could be, when is the expected go live date, if they to be onboarded, and things like that. And then of course the closed lost reasons. I think as soon or as early on as you can start really gather that information, the better your product will be, because you can feed that information back. The better the sales process, the better the marketing, because if we always lose due to one specific thing, we will need to work on that, in our communication, in the way that we communicate to prospects as well, in the sales dialogues. Another thing is also with the closed loss reasons, that if you actually lose deals based on a feature, on an integration, then you can build that feature or that integration in product, but you will still have the tag in HubSpot, which means that when you're ready with the specific feature, you can then do a campaign to all those companies or contacts you lost due to the specific reason. So I think that closed loss reasons, I think that's one of my favorite required fields, because it feedbacks so much information to both, the organization, the product, and the different departments in the organization as well.
Good points. Yeah, I agree.
So I think that keep it simple when you're a startup, and then build from there. And what you said before, don't overcomplicate all the data that you're getting. Ask yourself only to store the data that you need to use, and be very nitty-gritty about the properties, because you don't necessarily need to build a custom property every time. So think about how to actually utilize all the properties that HubSpot is born with, and then build from there. Is there is really anything additional you will need, because otherwise it can turn into a mess, and it can be hard to build lists, to build automations, and really do the right reporting.
Absolutely. And very good points there as well. And when you come into data, that's a good point on data as well. Companies tend to just gather all the data because data itself is valuable, but is it actionable? Is it information that is actually going to take you towards your goal? So sometimes companies tend to forget what their goal actually is, but it's so interesting to find all this information. But is this information that's actually going to help me get to where we want to go as a company?
And I can see that some of the people are chiming in the chat as well, that some of our best practices for deal be required, effectual, inspectable, and buyer-centric. And another one for a startups that can customize for a specific use case, and qualified for investor, pitch meeting done, due diligence, legal, cash in bank, close won, close lost. So there is a lot of different ways to do it, and of course there is also the possibility to build different pipelines, right?
Yeah.
So before we're done, 2 minutes, I have one final question that I am actually very, very keen on getting answered. What you said, like you got, like from your boss, and just at HubSpot itself, you got measured on activity. So which reports are like, what would you say, the most important ones to build to actually, stay top of mind with your sales team if they are performing good or bad? What are the things that you're looking into? What is like the best practices for building a dashboard out in HubSpot?
So
the performance of salespeople.
Yeah, so strictly for us, what we use is so what the KPIs are in different companies. For us, is calls, IGAs, deals created, discovery calls, and demos. And then we have reports where we see, okay, how many calls do we make daily and monthly? Same thing with then we have the discovery calls, that's on a monthly basis, demos on a monthly basis, and same how many new deals we created is also on a monthly basis.
Okay, so that is like high level things, but what about like day-to-day activities such as sequences, emails, tasks, notes, stuff like that?
So those are we don't look at it in a sense, okay, how many emails did we send? Because in a sequence, you can then suddenly automate your job, and it gives you a false sense of success. Oh, look how much I did, but did you actually do it? No, it was the machine who did it, who helped you to get there, which is great.
Yeah.
So we don't really look at that. Tasks usually tie into the calls, because the most tasks we do are call related tasks that we use it for. But here again, in terms of reports, it comes back to the measurement. Are you measuring things that are actionable and are getting us closer to our goal? So if our goal is to sell X amount, okay, that means we need to have X amount of deals, we need X amount of discovery calls, we need X amount of calls to get those. So they all tie into hand. It's like a domino effect. You calls, then you have the deals, then you get it, and it goes forward.
Well, thank you so much, Josef. We're at the end. Really appreciated you joining us today. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. I hope you got some really good insights out of it. We will share the recording. We will share the slides. So you will have them once we're done today. Hope to see you all next time. And if you subscribe to the user group, you will get notified once we have a new event coming up. Thank you, Josef.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.